Well, God bless you. We thank you for tuning in to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. I tell you, we're just super excited on this evening to be sharing with you guys. I tell you, we just been having an awesome time all year long, just sharing with our Facebook family and friends about the blended family, the dynamics of it, how you too can have a successful blended family. And I tell you, you will be the blessed one for this evening's broadcast. Last 2 weeks we've shared talking about in the storms, and so that was phenomenal. We began a lot of praise reports as relates to those 2 episodes, and I tell you, we just been having an awesome time sharing with you guys just insight, scripture references, because we know that we live according to the Word of God, and so it's important to have those scripture references to just rely on and lean back to. But we're going to jump right into tonight's broadcast. I tell you, I'm excited about tonight. If you ever wanted to be in on a broadcast, tonight is the one you wanted to be on. So, sweetheart, let's start off with some statistics.
According to the Step Family Foundation's research, more than 60% of divorced fathers visit their children.
Wow. More than 60% of divorced fathers visit their children. That means there's some work that has to be done, because there's a whole nother 40% that's not visiting their kids. And there could be a lot of dynamics as it relates to why they're not. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is that statistic, that 40%, is far too big as it relates to fathers and their children. Mm-hmm. So we need to fix that.
50% of all women, not just mothers, are likely sometime in their life to live in a step family relationship or blended relationship.
Exactly. Because see, when we give statistics, we're reading the statistics as we get them. There's no statistics that are really focused in on the term blended family. So they use step family. You know, we always say that the only steps in your homes are the ones that lead up to your door and the ones that's going upstairs or even downstairs. And so I'm not a proponent of the word step at all, because that denotes a set of division. And so we talk about the blended family, but these are step family statistics. And what's the last one?
80% of remarried partners with children both have careers.
And this is important to understand. And people say, well, what's so important about that? Because you're talking about 2 systems that's coming together, mm-hmm. and it's quite obvious that there are some things that they had to take care of before they got together, and so they had a career coming into each other. So it's not like they started the family, an original family, and then the wife or the husband decided to stay home mm-hmm. and be with the kids, but they too both had to go out and take care of their homes and their families, and when they coming together, they both are career oriented. And so, but we thank God for those statistics. Let's go right into tonight's episode, because I'm excited about this. Guidelines for a successful blended family. We've given you guys some steps as it relates to success in a blended family. A whole bunch of things we've given, but there also are some guidelines. A lot of information that we give can be somewhat similar, but not the same. And so we just want to consistently and continually share with you guys those things that we've learned over the years and that we've got an understanding about in order to bless our home and our family. And we want to share them with you. A lot of times we hear people say, well, I wish I had this type of information when I first started off. Well, this is not only for you, but it's for the one that's getting ready to start off as well. Because you don't want to go into this blended family dynamic like we did uninformed. One of the hardest things or one of the roughest things that we had to deal with was the lack of information, especially as related to each other, because there's a whole nother type of relationship when you're a parent coming into a relationship, becoming into a marriage. Mm-hmm. And so we had to deal with that as a blended family. We had to deal with raising the kids, discipline, mm-hmm. Education, their career courses, the whole 9 yards. And so we're sharing this so that you too can not only start off, but you can stay right and you can finish right. That's one of the sayings that we learned in ministry. Start right, stay right, and finish right. And so there's so many people that haven't started right, but that doesn't mean that you can't stay right. And it definitely does not mean that you can't finish right. So you can start right where you're at. You can start right at this moment, gathering information, and then from this moment on, making sure that you stay right and that you finish right. And so what's the first guideline that we have, sweetheart?
Embrace your role as the blended parent.
Now this is important because in order to have success as a blended family, you have to embrace your role. One of the things that I had to do, I had to embrace my role as the blended dad. What do you mean? I had to have an understanding that these were my girls, that I loved them just as if I produced them, and that I wanted to be there for them just like I was there all along. And so I had to, from the beginning, embrace my role as the blended parent. Now, I didn't have a lot of understanding. There were some things that I struggled with as related to understanding. But as far as embracing that role, man, I embraced that role wholeheartedly because it was exciting for me to come in and to be a dad. That was exciting to me because I missed that. I missed that with my natural son because my natural son was so far away,
right,
and the things that we were dealing with that dynamic. But to come in into and embrace 3 young ladies to be an example, one of the things that they could say is that they saw love, they saw compassion, they saw understanding. I get phone calls all the time from my daughters about whatever, but I wouldn't have received those phone calls, or I would not be receiving those phone calls if I didn't embrace my role as a blended family. What do you have to say about that? I mean, because you had to embrace a role as well.
Yeah, but not on the same dynamics as you, so it's a little different.
Regardless, there was still a role that you had to embrace as related to the blended parent. And so share with the audience that, because some people may have the same dynamic that we have. And so how did you look at the long distance?
I mean, it's hard to really say because it was long distance. I didn't really have much no interaction with them those first 8-9 years. So the only interaction was via telephone, and that was mainly with the ex, not the son.
Gotcha.
So, you know, the dynamics, like I say, not being in the house was a little different for me because I didn't get the opportunity to share anything with him or go through anything with him or deal with any of these conflicts or different things that you had to deal with him.
But this is what I wanted to get to, embracing the role. Because in embracing the role, for a long time, it was my son.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm talking about embracing the role. And I wanted to share that because even we early on had to deal with dynamic because immediately they were my girls. I mean, and they could tell you that. They were my girls.
Yeah, but they were in the home.
But immediately it wasn't your son. Whether they're in the home or not, it's about embracing the role. And so it's important for people to understand that to have that success, because it took a while for you to come to that place where that's the way you viewed it. You know what I'm saying? And so whether a child is there or not, the embracing part is the important part. The interaction is what you do in their presence, but you can embrace something far before you have it. It's just like millionaire status. You embrace a lifestyle of success far before you get the success. And so that's why we're sharing it, because there are some people that will embrace it immediately. Some people will embrace it right from the start, and then others will embrace it over time, like we did. We were separate in that dynamic, but we both began to embrace it, and we both began to get the fruit of that. Because even when we went down on our family vacation, it was evident that you embraced that role, because he received you as a mom instead of that's my wife. And so we want to share with you guys, it's important. In order to get that success, you have to embrace that thing, you have to take it on, and you have to put it on as a garment. The second one is what, sweetheart?
Avoid misunderstandings by discussing expectations.
Avoid misunderstandings by discussing expectations. This is important because when you come into this dynamic, this blended family dynamic, everybody's going to have some expectations. There were some expectations my wife had. There were some expectations that I had. A lot of them we discussed, and there were some that we didn't discuss. And because we didn't discuss everything, and let me say this, some things you think may not be necessary to discuss, those are the things you need to discuss. Because believe me, you're going to eventually encounter those things that you don't think right now are important. Later on, you're going to find out that they're very important. And so it's important, if you want to avoid misunderstandings, you're going to have to discuss your expectations. There was an expectation that my wife had as related to spending time with the family. We didn't discuss that because we didn't have any understanding about that. And so it was clear early on that I needed to fix that. Because for me, I just wanted to come home, especially after a hard day's work. I just wanted to come home, go in the room, close the door, watch a little TV, get something to eat, and then relax. Well, with my wife, and the kids, they were used to getting together, talking, discussing things, spending time with each other, laughing, joking, talking about their day. For me, I didn't have that. And so the expectation was there, but it wasn't discussed. And because that expectation wasn't discussed, early on, it created a problem.
Go, you got it.
And so somebody leaving me hanging tonight, so I'm going to put them on blast. And so what's the next one?
Build a culture of appreciation, respect, value, and tolerance.
Build a culture of appreciation, respect, value, and tolerance. This is in the middle. This guideline is in the middle, but it can actually be up at the top. It's important to build a culture of appreciation. Too many times, we don't build a culture of appreciation. What we do is we build a culture of acceptance. Acceptance doesn't make a successful family. Appreciation does. That's for both husband, that's for wife, and that's for children, and that's for parents. If you want to have a successful blended family, you have to, number one, build a culture of appreciation. You can't have success and the husband don't feel like he appreciated. The wife don't feel like she appreciated. The children don't feel like they're appreciated. The parents don't feel like they're appreciated. You'll never have success until you first start off with appreciation. Then there's respect. You have to respect one another. You have to respect the children. The children have to respect the parents. That's important. And all of those are choices. You choose to appreciate. You choose to respect. And then there's value. This is huge. This is huge, folks. This is huge value. What you value, you take full acceptance of. Let me say that again. What you value, you take full acceptance of. What do you mean? Those things that you value, man, you hold in high esteem. You hold in high regard. And I found out that a lot of times, because we're so familiar with each other, because we've been around each other so long, because we're just in this, and we don't understand that things change. Right. Just like we change, they change. We lose the value piece. And so when you lose the value piece, what you do now is you start disrespecting. And let me say this, disrespecting isn't always bad talking or down talking each other. Disrespecting is not valuing them the way that you should. You cannot value your wife as a wife or not value your husband as a husband, and guess what? Now that's disrespect. Because now you won't tell them how much you love them. You won't tell them how much you appreciate. See, appreciation and respect, that's a part of value. Mm-hmm. Value sums up all of it. That's why value is so huge. And so what we found out is a lot of people lose that value in their relationship.
I was going to read the definition of
What's
value.
The definition of value? Let's get that.
The regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something.
Read that again.
Okay. The regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Then some of the synonyms are worth, usefulness, advantage, benefit, gain, profit, good, help, merit.
And read the first definition.
The regard?
Yes.
The regard that something is held to deserve.
Hold on, stop right there. The regard and what?
That something is held to deserve.
The regard that something is held to deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody deserves value. You regard that by showing that you give them value, or that they have value. What happens is, it's just like with us. If I don't show my wife value, then it's easy for somebody to come along and show her the value that I'm not showing. See, a lot of times we wonder why things get off course and off centered. It's simply because we haven't taken the time to show what it is that they deserve. Your wife, your husband, your children, your parents, they deserve, and I say parents because even if you're grown, you can still be in a blended family dynamic.
Right.
And there's some children with understanding that watches us every week that need to understand that you need to value your parents. Because, let me say this, one man's junk is another man's treasure. And people don't understand how real that is. You cannot value your parents and let somebody else overvalue your parent, and you will just see just how much a good thing you have. One thing that I knew even growing up, I value my parents so much. Now, there were some things that my parents did, and there were some things that I didn't like. But the value part was huge. One thing that I can say for sure, I always saw my father every single night. Now, he may have had some junk in his trunk. He may have some things that he did that wasn't quite right. But guess what? I always saw him. I always knew that he loved me. He always placed value on me. Even this day, I mean, I'm his favorite. But that's the value. You know what I'm saying? I say that about my mom too. You know, everybody know I always say, in my family, I'm the favorite. I'm the favorite son. I'm the favorite uncle. I'm the favorite nephew. I'm the favorite cousin. I'm the favorite grandchild. I'm the favorite. And so, but that's because that's because I value everybody. But I place that value there. And so that's important. Go to the next one, sweetie.
You didn't talk about intolerance.
Oh, intolerance. Yes, tolerance. Tolerance is huge because we're growing. There's some things that in this blended family dynamic that we don't know, that we don't have all the way together. And so you have to extend tolerance in order to get success. There's some things we're still tolerating with each other. And I'm like, girl, really? You're still doing the same stuff? Like, for real?
What?
For real?
Talk about you.
Still doing
Talk about you. Talk about you.
No, I'm talking about tolerance. That's what I'm saying. I'm tolerating you.
Yeah, talk about you.
I have to tolerate you.
Tolerate. Let me look up tolerate. See,
okay.
Brandon.
Yes, exactly.
That's the definition.
And so there's some things that you have to tolerate. And boy, you're going to have to tolerate some stuff. Listen, my wife has tolerated some stuff like you would not believe. Like she told me,
Okay,
yes.
I do want to read that though, for real.
Read it, sweet, please.
It says, allow the existence, occurrence, or practice of something that one does not necessarily like or agree with without interference.
Wow.
Synonyms: allow, permit, it says condone, accept, swallow, countenance.
Now, let me say this. There's a fine line to that. Because some things you just ain't condoning.
Right.
Some things you just ain't going to go along with. So we want to be clear on that. But there's some tolerance that has, as we grow, you have to extend tolerance. Because everybody's not mature, everybody's not knowledgeable, everybody doesn't have understanding in all areas of relationship, and specifically the blended family. And so there's some things you're just going to have to tolerate until they get to that level. You know what I'm saying? The girls tolerated my ignorance as a parent. I was lunching sometimes real bad early on. And they tolerated the nonsense, but guess what? Now they love it. They love me. They don't love that nonsense because I've grown up in that area, in those areas, and now we moved on and had a successful relationship. Right. But there's some tolerance that we all had to extend towards each other in order to have success.
Yeah, because everybody gonna have something that you don't like about that person. I have things that you don't like about me. You have things I definitely don't like about you. But it's gotten a lot better.
Yes, because I really learned how to tolerate.
Me too.
What's the next one?
That's funny. Prepare for conflict.
Wow, this is big, guys. Prepare for conflict. Let me tell you something. There's going to be some disagreements. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about you breaking glasses and things of that nature. We're just talking about.
We hope they ain't doing it.
Yeah, we hope you're not doing that. But if you are, just stop.
Exactly.
That's simple. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know how to act, learn how to act.
That's right. Because
your response is your responsibility. But you have to prepare for conflict. And what we mean by conflict is disagreements. Mm-hmm. You got to prepare for that. Because those are going to come. Wow. I just thinking about some friends of ours, Daryl and Stacy Johnson. I love those guys. And we actually lived with them for a while. And I'm going to tell you something. We've seen firsthand, they don't argue. And so if you hear them say they don't argue, guess what? We can vouch for that one. They don't argue. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have conflict. That doesn't mean that they don't have disagreements, some things that they don't quite see eye to eye on. But they've learned that's one thing that they got solid. Mm-hmm. They're solid in that area. And that's because I believe they prepared for that. They prepared going into that. This is one area that we're not going to fall short in.
Right.
And so when you set yourself that this is an area that you're going to be successful in, when you set yourself that this is an area that you're going to be victorious in, you're prepared for that. Right. So when those things come, you know how to handle yourself as it relates to that. Mm-hmm. And so, listen, prepare for that. What's the next one, sweetheart?
Practice being vulnerable a little bit at a time.
Exactly. You got to practice that. That was one of my issues, because I was a person that I could put a wall up quick. I wouldn't show you my feelings. I wouldn't show you my emotions. And so because of that, I wasn't letting my family into my life, really. Mm-hmm. I wasn't letting them in. And so they were more like strangers than they were my family. And so I had to learn how to practice vulnerability. It probably was about, 10 years before you ever saw me cry.
Something like that.
Yeah. Other than the time I had that toothache. Now, let me tell you something. A toothache will break a man down. Other than that toothache, my wife never saw me show emotions like that before. And I'm talking about almost 10 years before I began to show myself as being vulnerable to things that was going on around me. And so this is important, man, because I missed a lot of enjoyment in our marriage because I wasn't vulnerable, because I wasn't showing that I could be vulnerable. And so that's important. And I just wanted to share that with you guys, because a lot of men in specific have a problem with being vulnerable or showing vulnerability. And so I want to encourage you guys, listen, that's a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. That's a sign of strength. What's the next one, sweetie?
Take a good look at your first marriage.
Take a good look at your first marriage. This is big. And I said that because if you want to be successful, if you've already been married before and this is your second marriage, maybe your third, some of y'all your fourth, then you need to take a look at some things. You need to look at your role as it relates to that not working. Because people say there's two sides to a coin. There's some things that you may have done to contribute in the failure of that first marriage. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't take a look at that thing, then you're bound to repeat it. And so there were some things that we both had to look at individually as related, because this is both our second marriage. Now, combined, we didn't even have half of the years we got together now.
Right. From the first.
From the first. But that was because we took a look at those things that we contributed to the demise of that first marriage and said, this is what we're not going to do.
Right.
We're definitely not going to do this. Now, there were some things that we didn't know going into the second one, but we were quite clear.
But I think in the beginning, we still did some of those things that we said we wasn't going to do.
Yes, but we corrected them quickly.
Yeah.
We correct, you're right.
So even if you do them, just fix it right away.
Exactly. But you'll never know that if you're not taking a look.
Yep.
If you're not looking at those things. And a lot of us have a problem with just pointing the finger. The reason why that wasn't a success was because that other person. Well,
sometimes most people don't want to take responsibility for that stuff. That's why I love what Dr. Mike always say. Your response is your responsibility. Because even if we would have heard that back then and really took it to heart like we do now, some of the stuff that we wouldn't have even probably experienced.
No,
we wouldn't have said or wouldn't have done.
Exactly. Because we'd have known that our response, she can't get on my nerves. Because, as a matter of fact, my nerves are inside of me, and unless she's in me, she can't get on my nerves.
Right.
Now she get close to my nerves.
That's why I'm quiet tonight.
No, but really, our response is our responsibility. So please take a good look at your first marriage. And the last one, because we almost out of time, is what, sweetheart?
Accept change.
This is big, guys. Accept change. You grow. You mature.
Yep.
Things change. Our eating habits have changed. The way we view things change. The way we think about things change. The way we talk have changed. The way we look have changed. And that's been for the better, because, I mean, the older we get, the better we looking. And so, but things change. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to learn how to accept change. There are some things that she used to do early on that she just don't do no more. Now, I might don't like that she's not doing some of those things, but that's change.
Wait, like what?
Well, that's another episode.
Like what? Wait.
That's another. I gotta write it down. It's a list of stuff, so I gotta write it down.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah, shots fired. No, but and there's some things that I used to do that I don't do anymore because things change. Now my list is a little bit smaller than her list.
Okay.
But
he gonna be on here next week by himself if he keep on talking.
That's not a problem.
Y'all will be here and listen to Brandon. I'll be sitting back like, nope.
In the blender with Madeline Hyman.
Yep.
No, but listen, you gotta accept change.
Oh yes.
Change is inevitable.
Yeah.
Our weight has changed.
A
lot of things have changed. But if you're not willing to accept change, guess what? You're going to be in for a hard time, because things change, just like seasons change. You're never going to have all the time summer. You're never going to have all the time spring, all the time winter, all the time fall. Things change. The Bible says it like this: to everything there's a time and a season. Mm-hmm. And so you got to understand there's times and there's seasons. Things change. But if you're not willing to accept those changes, you're not going to get the success that you want. And I'm glad that things change, because guess what? I don't want all of the same thing. I don't want everything to be the same all the time. I like variety. I like growth. I like new experiences. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't allow those things to take place, then you won't experience the fullness of that person, because you're only meeting that person where they at.
Right.
And as you guys grow, and as you mature, and as you evolve, mm-hmm. and as you grow, all those things happen, change is inevitable.
Yep.
And so listen, we're excited. We're almost out of time. Listen, as we always do, or as we started to do for the last couple of weeks, mm-hmm. we want to sow into you guys some of the tools that we have gathered over the years that has assisted us as achieving success in the blended family. And so this one right here is the power of prayer to change your marriage. The power of prayer to change your marriage. And so we want to sow this into one of our viewers on this evening. And I tell you, the way you're going to get this is we're going to let you know who that viewer is and how can they reach us, sweetheart, with their information.
We are a blended family at gmail.com.
We are a blended family at gmail.com. Just give us your contact information, how we can get this into your hands, and we will sow this into you. I'm telling you.
Who you sowing it into?
We're going to sow this into Cookie Houston.
Oh, okay.
Cookie Houston. And so we want to sow this into you, Cookie. If you're still on, you can reach us at weareblendedfamily@gmail.com. Give us your contact information, how we can send this to you. And I tell you, we'll send this out this week. But it's a phenomenal read. The power of prayer to change your marriage. Let me tell you something. If you're not married, if you intended to be married, or someday you're hoping to be married, you're praying to be married, this is something that you want. Because you want to already prepare yourself. If you're not married, you want to already prepare yourself. So when that time comes, guess what? You'll already be ahead of the game. And so we thank you guys. We love you guys. We appreciate you for watching us. Listen, tune in every Tuesday at 7:30 to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. I tell you, you don't want to miss next week's episode. I don't know what we're going to be sharing, but I tell you, it's going to be exciting. And so we love you guys, and until next week, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.